Mary Lou, and thank you to Ruben again for getting us all together and organizing this. And I'd just like to start out with this session on management and control by sort of stating the irony of this sort of catch-22 situation we're in, where we need attractants to be able to find these beetles, but even if we do develop a good attractant, once we find them and catch them, we don't really know what to do with them. And so there's obviously a tremendous amount of work to be done. And looking at it from sort of the three different perspectives, one is the actual monitoring or being able to detect and monitor the insect, which is a large segment by itself, particularly with this insect where at this point at least, there does not seem to be anything really obvious in the pheromone chemistry that can be manipulated. That may be a little bit of a pessimistic statement, but certainly there doesn't seem to be anything like a sex pheromone, and the biology doesn't seem to be conducive to having a very powerful sex pheromone, for example. With regard to other management strategies, or chemical control obviously is going to, sooner or later, probably play some role in this. I don't know anything about using insecticides. There are people in this room who do, so hopefully some of that will be discussed over the next day and a half or so. Repellents is a possibility. Again, I say this with some degree of trepidation, I think, because the use of repellents for protecting crops on a large scale is, to my knowledge, not really all that well developed. So if there is something that can be used here, great, but I would suspect that there would be other methods which will be eventually turn out to be more useful in the long run. And then thirdly, there's the control of the fungus, which is a separate but related issue to control of the beetle. Again, chemical control would be one of the obvious possibilities, but maybe there is something else that could be done as well. Certainly for the longer term with breeding for resistance or something along those lines. But one of the other things that I would like everybody to keep in mind during the next day and a half too is that we have to be thinking about solutions which are both logistically possible and economically feasible. Because it's all very well to talk about doing things that are very expensive on a tree-by-tree basis for street trees or ornamental trees with high value. But when you move to a large cropping situation, and particularly with the avocado cultivation methods here in California, where you've got steep hillsides and things like that, a lot of the things that you might be able to do in a sort of a flat field situation probably wouldn't really be economically or logistically feasible. One of the other issues I think that has come up is that we really need to get a much better grasp on the biology of this insect overall, how it's interacting with the host species, and that has become clear because, very clear actually, because there's been quite a lot of talk about attack versus trees that are susceptible or trees that are capable of supporting development of the beetle. There could be a very big difference between those two, and I think everybody's sort of gotten that message now. And one of the other things that I've picked up on both yesterday and today is looking at the biology of this insect. For example, from the trees that we were looking at yesterday, there was only the final box elder that we looked at where there were actually beetles running around on the bark of the tree. Now, why is that? Is that because it was the particular time of day when they were coming out? Or is it because that tree was a particular stage when the beetles, for some reason, were getting ready to leave and to disperse? This is the kind of question that we really should be addressing, I think, as we move forward with trying to look at the biology of this. Diana Six also mentioned something this morning that resonated with me, and that is that when we're looking at these trees like that box elder yesterday, is that tree which is just riddled with beetles the result of a single attack where the beetles were pulled into that tree in terms of, was it a mass attack at one time, or are we looking at what has happened when a tree was attacked by one or a small group of beetles, and then successive broods of beetles have continued to colonize that tree, so that what we're seeing is the result of 2 or 3 years of attack, possibly, rather than one mass attack. So possibly, if it is a mass attack, then there may be some aggregative type of pheromone or phenomenon that we can take advantage of. If it is just the result of successive attacks by brood emerging and reattacking the tree that they've just emerged from, that possibility becomes less. So just to some of the snippets, I guess, that I've picked up on myself over the last couple of days, in terms of some of the interesting biological questions that could have very big ramifications on how we attack the beetle and the fungus that it's vectoring. Okay, so first speaker then for this session is Tim Payne. Tim?